Running Sentences presents A Ball and a Chain, Part 2, Old Friends. As Ava deals with old friends and trying to get them to go away, Louis finds his own problems swarming him. Old people are not exactly easy to get money out of. This is a work of fiction. Any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, real situations, events, businesses, and characters is purely coincidental. Story is written and narrated by Michael Hunnery. Copyright 2023, Michael Hunnery. All rights reserved. At first, when Clarice had pulled Ava away from the lingering party people, she headed for the corner of the room. This changed, since it wasn't as private as she wanted, and they went up a nearby set of stairs, near the top but not fully up. They could still see the partiers, who were all drinking and standing around talking to themselves mostly about their latest achievements. It was quiet here, though, and Clarice, with her mischievous smile, was full on staring at Ava. "You need me." "I don't, and you don't know what I'm doing." "Oh, I saw you coming out of the studio this afternoon. That can only mean one thing. You're back in the game." "Trying to be back, and I don't need your help." "Yeah, well, you do, because, as we all know, there isn't a secret that isn't known by entertainment people unless they happen to marry outside of the industry. There are plenty of secrets you don't know about me." "Oh, for sure, but that's all personal stuff, not really entertainment industry bound. And anyway, it's easy enough to find out someone who knows and talk to them, because everyone talks in this town." Ava blanched at the thought and looked down the stairs, hoping that there would be an escape route. She didn't have anything to hide, but it was still better to keep things hidden, especially from old acquaintances. It was hard to know what was the truth anymore, and where her lies began when it came to old friends and them telling stories about you. They generally tended to lie to make things bigger and better, and she had done that herself several times. But now, she didn't really want that. "Keep your nose out of my affairs and matters." Of course, I will if you're willing to do a deal." "What do you even know, Clarice?" The smile from the woman seemed to grow bigger and bigger by the moment. It was not something that Ava wanted to say or think about. Why old friends had come back into her life was beyond her. Well, she kind of knew. Anytime there was money around, people tended to find out, and they wanted in on it. But she was done with them, and had been for a while, so there was no need for this old acquaintance. "An old story about a threesome with lots of cocaine. Oh, also you were a stripper supporting your acting career, despite being in quite a few minor things at that point, all rather embarrassing for who you were working for the moment, at that moment." "I have nothing to be ashamed of." "No one said you did, Ava. People, however, will perceive things how they wish. Generally, even the most sex-positive people don't actually like sex workers infesting their entertainment. At least out loud they don't. Internally, they might be cheering for it." "Don't you dare, Clarice, do anything to harm my new chances at getting something." "Oh, I wouldn't dream of it, if you let me tag along." Ava wasn't sure what to make of this, and found her head just spinning round and round as she tried to find something to settle on. The thought and the agreeing to whatever her old acquaintances' demands did not sound enticing. "Maybe I will." And with that, she stormed off back down the stairs. Louis had followed his wife as best he could as they hurried down the long driveway. She had stepped out of her heels, so she could walk fast and toss them to him, which he barely caught as they arrived at the gate. It split open, letting them stand by the road, and she had already called the local driving service to come pick them up. Your friend? Don't bring her up. Okay, but it seems like she might have some sources that can help you out on your goal. You're willing to... Her? No. She was a hanger-on. All she likes to do is hang around people who might become something and leech money off of them. Oh. Yes, avoid her at all cost. Seriously, avoid her. A car pulled up to them, and they soon confirmed that it was their ride, and then got out of there. After such a long day, Ava was quick to get back into her bedroom. She locked her door behind her and was soon stripping of her clothes, with a sigh of relief since they all felt so constrictive to her. She paused a moment at her bed, looking at the spot where a box of hidden drugs were tucked safely away, then decided perhaps it was best not to do such things before bed, and went off towards her bathroom. Across the hallway, Louis was likewise getting undressed and wandering around his own bedroom. He opened his bureau to get out his hidden stash of weed, since it was all that helped him get to sleep lately. A little nip to help out, then tomorrow to deal with the crap of making money. It will be fun. No one is going to pay the least bit of attention to me anyway. He had fetched his equipment and was pacing about the room with pipe in hand, trying to decide if he should or should not actually smoke it. He liked the idea, but he was also trying to figure out how he'd gotten himself into this mess in the first place, and a clear mind was better for that sort of situation. His mind strayed back to how he'd now gotten to here in total. His family had kindly given him a couple $100,000 to invest. That had tripled with his help, and then doubled on that, on top of that. Suddenly, he was good with money, and guessing which stocks were going to go where. The truth, though, was he was guessing, and that somehow made him some money. Now, he felt like his luck was running out. He tossed aside the pipe, figuring that it would only make him loopy, and right now, that wasn't going to help when he needed to be able to think clearly. More pacing followed until he managed to tire himself out a bit and plopped onto the bed. Before going to sleep, though, he managed to set his alarm for early the next morning. When morning came, Louis was quick to get up, having not really slept all that well. In as quick a fashion as possible, he was out of the house, not wanting to answer any questions from Ava about what he was up to. And since it was early, and he wasn't headed into the big city, traffic wasn't as bad as he feared, and he soon found himself in the parking lot for the Rose Gardens home, a quaint place with lots of flowers and cabins as far as the eye could see. Well, at least once past that main reception building. It was all he could see at the moment, and he wasn't sure what this place was other than a welcoming building. He'd hit the buzzer by the side of the front door, and a nice person had told him that he could wait a few minutes before someone could come to greet him. A few minutes had already gone by, and Louis checked himself over again, trying to keep his suit neat and pressed, despite the fact that his gut was now pushing against it. He was going to need to work out at some point. "Sir?" He turned to flash a smile at a well-dressed, middle-aged woman who stood nearby at the door. She had just cracked it open. Everything about her screamed caretaker or boss of the establishment. It was the exact person he figured he needed. "Hello, apologies for my unexpected arrival, but I was told by a friend that there was an opportunity here." The look from her was a guarded one, and she seemed not to trust his words for a second. She did not appear to be an easy person to win over. "You were referred here by someone. This is a retirement home for the elderly, but active. How could you be referred by someone?" "Yes, I was not. It's not trying to move somebody in or live here or anything like that. I can see why your mind might jump to that, though." He paused to collect himself, feeling like he was talking too fast for his own good. My name is Lewis Malcolm. I was sent here by the lovely Daphne Strong because we believe there is a great chance of investment here with your people. I don't understand. What do you mean, invest? Are you trying to invest in the community? No. I want to present the community a chance to invest on the ground floor of a nice, new, exciting project. You want to do what now? These are old people, not young ones, trying to get rich quick. They've seen life. They know a scam when they hear it. At least most of them probably do. Now please go away. She almost had shut the door and was getting ready to march away, but he was quick and caught his hand just in the doorway, blocking it just enough, which was his best option right now. He didn't try and pull the door open, but she was surprised by the suddenness and had stopped. And how many of these so-called elders would like a chance to get their names hooked onto a Hollywood project, though? Including herself. You would get a big name in lights. She was now fully stopped and seemed to be contemplating, and paused at his words for a moment. Well, at least we can chat about it. I don't see the harm in that. Follow me to my office. With a relieved grin, Lewis fully opened the door once she let go, and he did just that. Staring up at the ceiling left Ava feeling empty. She had much to do and wanted to do none of it. The next studio meeting was days away, and the producer couple, plus Clarice, had left her feeling exhausted. She didn't even want to break out her supply of drugs for a pick-me-up from the malaise of lying in the nude under the covers. Fucking hell, why can't this shit be easier? A knock on her door made her sit up in shock and horror. She had heard Lewis leave this morning, but then went back to sleep. A look over at her clock told her it wasn't too much later, but he wouldn't be back already, would he? Who else could it possibly be, though? Yes, hello? The door was beginning to open, sending her heart into a flutter. It only opened enough, though, for her maid to poke her head in. Hello, I was just checking in per your request. Ava tried to think about this, trying to remember why. It wasn't coming to her, and it was enough of a distraction for her to do anything else about covering herself up. I made that request. You said to make sure that every morning to come check and make sure that you were alive, still. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Ava found herself nodding along with that thought. It's good to see you're still with us. Would you like some late breakfast or brunch or something to eat? No, I think I will skip that. I need to watch my figure and present a likable image for the studios. Working out would do that, but I don't think I could use the stuff that Lewis bought. They were just, the working out's not my strong suit. Maybe I'll go for a light jog or something like that. She was talking to herself and not paying much attention to her maid, Susie, and so the maid merely nodded along until it was clear that she could withdraw. It took a minute or two for Ava to realize her servant was actually gone, and she hopped out of bed and began getting ready for that jog she'd been talking about. That would probably take all of 10 minutes or so to complete. Not long after that, she found herself out on the road jogging down it at a rather slow pace. It felt all wrong for her to be out here doing this workout thing. She wasn't opposed to it, but it felt rather like it should be done in a private space instead of out in the open. The road ahead began to violently dip downward as it twisted this way and that in order to get down a hillside. She slowed down as she stared at the thought of going down that and then having to come back up it. You know, home exercise and working out at a gym is a much better idea. She turned around before getting close, fearing even going down that few inches of a hill might lead to some exhaustion. Thankfully, her home wasn't far away from here, and it was a good 2-minute jog, and she passed by her new neighbor's house, although she had only caught fleeting glimpses of what appeared to be a beautiful woman next door. For the better part of the last few minutes, Lewis had been staring at Bethany, the worker at the Rose Garden Homes, who was staring back blankly at him. He told her when he was making a show and how he might get people to invest in making it happen. It appeared it either had gone over her head or it just had not gone well at all. The idea is that you get a payout when we reach success. If you reach success. He flinched but nodded. There was a possibility that no success would be had, and no one liked that. To think about that, though. And we can figure out how to do early payments so that these investors can get their money back much sooner. This was not going well, and he knew that, but to explain his way out of this would require something he didn't think he had. Lewis sat up straighter in his chair, trying to put on some comforting air around him, something he knew he didn't exude at all, but it was worth the effort. You're a money person, and I know a bit about how things like these work. After all, I helped run this shithole. But to get them their money back sooner means less return on their investment in total. Potentially, yes. That's how these things go. You get early returns, less money in the long run. Stick it out and you get more money in the end. And how would one even get a payout from a TV show? Lewis actually brightened at this. This was a question he could sort of answer. Advertisers, and the studio will pay out a certain amount of money. The bigger and better these things take off, the more money is put back into the show, and then we can take a cut of that and put it into the purses of the investors. And how big of a cut we get into the making of this show? None. We will pass along any ideas to all the people in proper charge, and we'll get a little feedback and a little bit of say and all of that. And me, what do I get out of all of this? You said I could potentially be one of the investors? Well, yes, you could certainly be, and you can certainly be involved. And how much money are you looking to get out of a potential deal? How much are you looking to invest? Maybe. Depends on how things are. Yes. Well, then there's one question. Since you did claim that this place was a shithole, are you investing this money legally? Or are you not willing to tell me exactly that? Or are you willing to be bendable and pliable about how you get your money? Or how pliable do you want me to be about this? This seemed to entertain her, and she leaned forward. Let's say both, and see where it leads us, shall we? Lewis nodded his head yes as she produced the checkbook. He had a terrible feeling he was now getting way in over his head right about now. Having gotten back home and had her maid show her where the treadmill was hidden away at home, Ava set to working out. Slowly. She didn't like this place that Lewis had managed to buy for her. She wasn't familiar with it yet, and its entire layout was different from the home that she'd been so used to lately. Truly, she loved staying in her room and fretting away the day, along with coming up with plans to revive her career. And now she had a chance to do so. Well, she was afraid that working out was just not going to help her all that much. Worse, it made her sticky and sweaty after only a few minutes of working at it. She cursed her body and the fact that her metabolism had once not minded not working out so much. That her metabolism had not minded not working out as much. But now it had slowed down and wouldn't let her eat what she wanted anymore. Miss Ava. She stopped her slight jog on the machine and stepped off it, turning to her maid, who had come into the exercise room that had been built. What is it? There is a person at the front gate who wishes to see you. Said their name was something along the lines of Anthony DeStock. Face flushed from working out. It felt like it would only take a second for that to all drain away. Anthony? What in the world did he want? She could easily enough put two and two together, and that her former friend, associate, idiot, colleague, Clarice, had blabbed about things. Did he say what he wanted? Something about talking to you, that is all. Oh dear, oh dear. I suppose trying to talk to him through the speaker system at the gate is considered rude, isn't it? I will talk to him at the front door. Though, that might make a good place to stand one's ground. Tell him I shall talk to him, but he isn't coming inside, okay? And that he has to wait a couple of minutes, because my condition isn't very clean, is it? There was a nod from the maid as Ava hurried out to take a quick shower and to change. A few minutes later, and an all-too-quick shower brought Ava to her front door, which she opened all by herself, and standing not far away on the driveway still, near a red muscle car, wearing his usually too good for the world sunglasses, stood her former friend. His outfit screamed, "Look at me," and his name, of course, blazoned a bit on the coat. Anthony. He grinned as she stepped out and looked at him. "Kitten, how are you?" "Fine. What do you want?" He began walking up the little sidewalk towards the front door, with his sleazy grin growing as he approached. "You look as delicious as ever. I never got over those curves of yours, always leading to bad places." The words were having an effect on her, but mostly from the fact that she wasn't sure what he was getting at anymore. The last time they had actually talked, all he'd done was insult her and her looks. "I came to see how you are doing." "You talked to Clarice." "I did that as well. I did that, yes, and, of course, when word gets around, people want in on things." "Why would I let you in on this project?" He was now but a few steps from her and looked her in the eyes, trying to domineer her just with his looks alone. This made Ava tighten her back, as she didn't want him to win her over. She met his gaze, trying to make sure she didn't give him any satisfaction. "Well, I can help you out. I know of a place that has a perfect studio lot for shooting a brand new show. They're looking for shows to shoot there." "Not the kind of show that I want to make." "Oh, but it is. They're desperate for work, and they can change everything and anything to what you need. Isn't that what movies and television is all about, though? Making things up to look good, even though they're damned basic behind the scenes?" To deny this would be silly. She knew enough about the industry to acknowledge that it worked that way. From people down to the sets, the whole thing was made up to look nice and was rather considerably terribly basic behind the scenes. "I have no show, so I cannot say yes to your offer." "But when you do get it, come see me. You need cheap, and I can do that for you. My connections are invaluable. If there is one thing that will never change about you, it is your love for getting things done cheap and quick, and you know I can do that." "I will keep that in mind should something come up." He backed up with a smile back towards his car, and a wink coming from it before he fully turned around and went back to it. Ava felt a shudder run up and down her spine from both revulsion and actually a little bit of excitement. Having gotten only Bethany aboard the project at the last retirement home, Lewis had moved on. He had come to the Clear Line Retirement Home, a place that claimed to be of barely moving elderly people. He added the last part, judging from the old people moving about the lobby. He was once again playing the waiting game, as a manager had not shown up this morning, and it being late in the morning had caused most of the staff to be in a sour mood. "Can I help you?" Lewis turned and looked over his shoulder, where the voice had come from, and standing on the counter was a rather long, gangly man who looked ready to wilt over from anything touching him. "Yes, I was looking for the manager, as I have a chance for the people here, living here, to invest their money in a solid and interesting project." "What are you talking about?" To this, Lewis flashed his best grin, trying to get the man to relax a little bit and not be so stiff. "Investing money into a potential TV show and then getting money out of it when it hits it big. Invest money, get money." "That sounds like a scam." Lewis tried to keep the smile up and reassure this man that that wasn't the case with his happy, jovial looks. No. That not at all. This is about trying to find people to invest money into something that can be grand and they will get money out of it in the end. Lots of money. Scam. Unsure of what else to say, Lewis opened his mouth to protest, but the man had turned and walked away. He was thoroughly confused, though, since his man hadn't ordered him to leave, so potentially he could pitch his project to these people, or... No. What is it? A tap on his elbow made him jump, though. Excuse me. What? Hello? He turned around. I heard you talking about investments. Yes, I have an investment opportunity for the elderly to get involved in some show business. We have an investment club here. It'd be good fun to play with money you might never see again. We got lots of it and little of it, and, we like to see what happens. Yes, great. Yes, okay. Is it fun to play with money? My opportunity isn't your standard stock and buy or sell option now. Just so you're aware, so your club is fully aware of what's going on. Oh, that sounds even more interesting. Please follow me and I shall introduce you to the club. Before he could protest, Lewis felt a rather strong hand grasp at his arm and pulled him towards the dining room space. There were lots of people hanging around this cafeteria dining room. He wasn't sure what it was, or what to call it, as he found himself propelled to a nearby round table where a bunch of elderly people sat. Once there, they all looked at him rather menacingly, with growls and glares coming from them. They did not appear to appreciate the fact that he was an intruder. Gents, ladies, this here is one of the young investor people looking to scam people out of money. No, I'm not scamming people out of money. The dark mood from the table seemed to lift at this news, though there was a more appreciative air at this man's words. Lewis was thoroughly confused by all of this that was going on, and just wanted to leave. The man, however, had not let go, and he didn't want to hurt an oldie person by breaking free, if he could, in fact. There was some doubt if that was a possibility in his mind, judging from the strength of the grasp. Kid, welcome to the Get Smart Smarty Club. Thanks. I'm Otto von Klaus and I run the club. If the rest want to give you their names, they will. Don't try and push your way into their lives. They don't like people like that. And they all know people who do good work for them so that they can get money back from whatever source they need. Lewis merely shook his head up and down in a yes fashion. He felt there was little else he could do right now. So what's this scam you're running, kid? It isn't one. I'm raising money for a potential TV show, a talk show. His arm was finally let go of by this Otto, who looked surprised that this was what he was doing here. What do you mean? I'm seeking people who are interested in getting into the show business and making money from it. That's all. That's more an embezzlement front than a straight scam. Maybe it's interesting. No, it's an actual show that I'm trying to make with my wife, and we're seeking help in getting it to look pretty so that a network will bite. I've been in the entertainment industry for some time before managing to get out of it by the slimmest of margins. I know how these things work. Embezzlement. Yep. The whole town, in fact, knew me at one point. I know all of their tricks and their schemes. Shows and movies are all about making money disappear into the pockets of the right people. It's not a straight scam, but it's a good way to make money if you're looking to make money. Lewis was just lost in this conversation and the glares of the club members who none of them had introduced themselves yet. He just wanted to be out of there and figured the fastest way to do that was start asking questions. You're interested, then? Maybe. I can't use my name if I do. Too many connections don't want me around anymore. explain everything of this deal that you've got going on. Explain the details of this TV show that you've got. He waved for Lewis to sit down at the table, which he did since he wasn't likely going to get away, and began explaining the vision for what they wanted. Having spent some time wandering around the house with little to do, Ava finally went up to the set-up spare room in the house. There were several spare rooms, but this one was set up to look a bit like a talk show TV studio, with a desk and a couch next to it, all in front of a small camera. It was made to look nice and TV show-esque, with how clean everything was, and untouched it was. Ava looked over the room and had called her maid up to help her out. You wanted something, miss? To practice being a host, I need someone to interview and talk to. I know something about your life, but not a lot, so this is perfect. Go sit on the couch so we can talk. At first, Susie looked on confused, even as Ava pointed towards the spot she wanted and was moving towards the desk to sit down. In a few seconds, they were all sat down, but looking nervous about what was going on. But Ava was glad to see that things were slightly going well, so she smiled and sat down and made sure she was comfortable in her chair behind the desk and looked over at her maid. What is going on, Miss Ava? I'm trying to put together a talk show that would interest the TV networks. I need to practice for when we make the pilot. If we ever get around to it. We probably will, but just to make sure, I thought you knew all of this. I'm vaguely aware of your business of what you wish to do, but since it is none of my business, I try and stay out of it. Ava frowned and shrugged. It was nice to have someone working for her that knew her place, but at the same time, she and Lewis had had many arguments over this, and quite loud ones, so this girl was probably a terrible liar. Well, I need to practice, so prepare to talk about yourself. She gave her maid a stern look and then turned away towards the fake camera that had been set up. It was in the far end of the room, and she looked right at it. Hello, and welcome to tonight's show, where in this segment I talk to people who do a bit of dirty work, the ones that keep things running. Susie on the couch looked around uncomfortably, trying to figure out what she was doing there. When Ava turned to look at her, she glanced over and saw the piercing stare and jumped a bit. Miss Susie, you are a maid, correct? Yes, that is my job. I work for you? And how do you like this so-called job? The benefits are good and whatnot? They're fine. It's okay since it is work and the pay is okay. Everything feels okay. That is excellent to hear, Miss Maid. And what do you do for fun? Do you have fun at your job, or do you save that sort of thing for after work? The dozens of questions Ava was carefully placing seemed to be doing the trick she wanted. The interviewee was uncomfortable and unready, which would leave her open to many other questions, follow-up ones that were more and more probing. Now she just needed to find the right one to get her maid to spill the beans on all that she didn't like. That was supposed to be how interviews worked, right? She questioned it a bit in her mind, but pressed forward and moved a little bit closer towards her maid. I don't know. I go to the movies, I watch TVs, I don't have time for personal things. You don't have time? No, work takes up all of my time, and by the time I have personal time, I don't want to do anything. Well, what would you do to fix that, then? Caught completely off guard, Susie nearly fell off the couch, having sat half on the edge, and she was about ready to fall off. Her hand managed to grab a bit of the cushion so that she wasn't going to. There was a pure, uncomfortable look on her maid's face, as she was clearly unsure of anything right now. I think we should end this. I don't feel comfortable. No, we are getting to the good stuff, Missy. You need to talk about what is all that's wrong with your job to make sure it is set right by your boss. But you're my boss. You've never done anything right by me, nor has your husband done anything right by me either. You both work me to the bone. That is not true at all. Ava turned to face the camera with a false smile. I hardly know you or see you all day long. In fact, today is the only day I've interacted with you more than a few times. You always interfere with all of my work. I don't know why you're claiming you don't. And the place is cleaner than clean because I interfered. Nothing is ever out of place, and if I move anything more than an inch, you're right back there to move it back. But that's my job, to keep everything in place. No, it isn't, unless Lewis specifically said that. You never had to do any of that. It's all in your own mind, dearie. You didn't need to move all of the books back to where they were. They were fine, being moved slightly to the left. Her maid was now an almost full-on breakdown of nervous unhappiness and fear. I have an undiagnosed disorder, so I do it to keep things happy in my head. Don't tell me not to do things. Ava was now getting angry. Her maid was speaking back to her, and this was not to do. She rose from behind her desk, fuming, mad, and frustrated. This little wench had her health insurance paid for them, and she wasn't even bothering to use it? She had undiagnosed disorders? How dare she? You have plenty of free time to get checked up and to become diagnosed, with however long such things might take. The insult was too much, and the maid was now angry and frustrated and had rage and hatred, and was jumping up from her edge of the couch. Ava came around from her side of the desk equally angrily, and pointing a finger at her, at the slightly shorter woman. There was something she wanted to do to this so-called maid, and she wasn't going to do it, because that was illegal. Never, ever, have I ever worked at a place that doesn't appreciate its workers. You haven't worked anywhere, then. This place appreciates you plenty. Susie's hand flew at Ava's face, meeting it with a loud crack. You know nothing, Miss Ava. Ava was holding her hand to her face in shock, horror, and ready to reel back and make her own free hand meet Susie's face. But she stopped herself. You are fired. I quit before you can fire me. And before the maid could step away, now Ava cracked her hand across the maid's face with her own slap. You would quit as a useless hag who only cleans what is already clean. I'm not a hag. You are. And with that, Susie stormed out of the room, after taking a second to consider another slap at Ava, before deciding not to. There was a lot of doors slamming that would follow, and Ava stamped her feet about the place to make some noise to cover her own screams in anger. Otto had invited Lewis back to his room after he described his plan. The old man seemed to be considering what he was saying, which was good. He didn't know if he trusted the geezer Otto, though, and now they were separated from the rest of his little clique. His host pointed towards the nearby couch as he went into a little kitchen area and to grab some glasses and an unmarked bottle with some dark brown liquid inside. I only give this stuff to people I think are going places and who I can make money off of. And he come back into the room holding up the bottle proudly. What is that? My own concoction of a bastard mix. You ever hear of torpedo juice? Unsure and confused as to what that was, Lewis shook his head now. Well, it's like that, only worse. Kicks you into tomorrow for about 4 hours after having a good sip. Good for a long night's slumber. Otto began pouring out 2 glasses worth, with more than enough to make Lewis's eyes go wide. He was expected to drink more than half of a glass of this stuff? That much? Money-wise, you're thinking of investing? Right, I'll invest in your little crazed project once you have a studio working with you. Do you have a production company yet? No, not yet, nor a place to shoot the show. You're getting ahead of yourself if you're worrying about where to shoot it. Let's get a couple of production companies involved. I'm guessing this lady of yours has created her own? Lewis actually shrugged at this. He wasn't sure if she had or hadn't. He hadn't really gotten that far. Although there was some business he'd set up for her. He couldn't remember exactly. I think I created one for her. I think it's actually mostly a paper thing. Both of our names are on it and, so on and so forth. Oh, no, don't worry about that. Most of Hollywood is paper. You look behind the scenes and all you see is razor-thin paper that can't support what's going on. Well, that's part of the fun, though, finding where and when to poke. How much are you willing to put into this project? I'm guessing it's a decent amount, and I'm asking to know how much. Since I've potentially raised some, and how far I need to go when I visit other places seeking their funds. Good man, trying to cut through the bullshit, eh? Yes, I am. Otto sat down on the couch opposite of Lewis, and in one gulp threw back his drink and smacked his lips in satisfaction. Let's say 3 million, maybe more, depending on how much more you plan to bilk out of others. Again, I'm not really trying to steal money from other people, and why would you put in more money if others are putting in... He didn't get to finish his sentence as his thoughts couldn't put together what he wanted to say. This felt odd and somehow so very Hollywood with everything being done behind closed doors. It's the way things are, don't worry about it. Money gets money and all, so it can cover any other money should people get cold feet. Every project you get 1 or 2 dropouts when you've already spent some of their money. Lewis, nodding along, not understanding a bit of it. But he was catching bits and pieces that sorted themselves into his mind into a semblance of sense. He hoped he wasn't thinking of all of this in the wrong way, and would be jumping to the wrong conclusions about it. I see. Well, can I get back to you on your offer and see where things are going in a few days? No, now or never. The deal starts at 3 million and goes up from there if you agree. From a table that was next to the couch that he was sitting on, Otto pulled out a piece of paper and handed it over to Lewis. Surprised by this, he looked over what looked to be a contract of some sort. It didn't take long to discover a standard form of a non-disclosure agreement. You don't want me to tell anyone about this deal? Damn right. People find out and they'll start coming for me because they hate me. I made so much money off of stupid people. I told you this already. The very least you can do is sign that. Do that and I'll give you a couple of days to sort things out for an answer, okay? Lewis looked over the form without answering, studying it for a moment. It looked like the ones he'd signed before, and wasn't scary looking, but it did make him rather uncomfortable. Is it okay if I tell Miss Ava, who will be the star of this show, all about this? Not right away, no. I've got to meet her first. Then we will decide how much she should or shouldn't know. Sometimes it is best to keep stars out of the paperwork. She's the whole reason for any of this, though. It would feel a bit weird to keep this part a secret from her. I'd rather she know, since she is peculiar and particular about such things. I don't think she's going to be a fan of it. Oh, few people like things to do with Hollywood, or the entertainment industry for that matter. It takes advantage of everyone, and the only people who get something out of it are the ones with the money in the end. Otto waved his hand towards the non-disclosure agreement, which Lewis decided to sign with a pen that had appeared in Otto's hand. With a flourish, it was done, and he was handing it back. Neither of the gentlemen looked quite satisfied with what was going on. End of part 2 of A Ball and a Chain. Thank you for listening.